Welcome. My name is Ghoul, and you're watching Top 5 Most Deadly Serial Killer Couples. So hit those lights, lay back, and enjoy.
Number 5. Fred and Rosemary West. Fred and Rosemary West were a model couple for other horrible people to emulate. Fred claimed his childhood home was full of incest and his dad taught him bestiality. In 1971, Fred went to prison for theft, and Rosemary murdered Fred's stepdaughter because the girl wouldn't cry during the beatings she gave her. Once Fred got out, he encouraged Rosemary to become a prostitute and then began raping their daughters. Over the next 6 years, they killed 9 women, then 2 more in the next 2 decades. Finally, in 1995, Rosemary was convicted on 10 counts of murder and sentenced to life. Fred killed himself while in custody pending his trial. Number 4. Susan and Michael Carson. Susan and Michael Carson became famous as the San Francisco witch killers for their murders of at least 3 and maybe as many as a dozen people who they claimed had evil energy. Describing themselves as vegetarian Muslim warriors, the duo took massive amounts of drugs, converted to Islam, and lived on a pot farm. Then they started killing. The first was in Haight-Ashbury in 1981, when they beat their roommate with a frying pan, then stabbed her a dozen times. They killed at least 2 more people, attempting to rid the world of witchcraft. They had a list of others to kill, some people who were acquaintances and others in the celebrity world. They were eventually caught and held a press conference admitting to the murders, which they claimed were done to break evil spells that had been cast on them. Both were given prison terms of 75 years to life. Number 3. Gwendolyn Graham and Catherine May Wood. A young lesbian couple from Grand Rapids, Michigan, Gwendolyn Graham and Catherine May Wood weren't content to have a vanilla sex life, so they tried choking each other while making love. When the thrills from that faded, they moved on to bringing a third party in, an old woman they'd murder together. Their first thrill kill was in January of 1987, when Graham smothered a woman with Alzheimer's disease and the pair made love next to her body. They did this 4 more times, smothering their victims together and having sex to relive the thrill, often ritually washing the bodies. The two were so good at what they did that they took souvenirs and openly bragged about what they did to their co-workers who didn't believe them. Graham was clearly dominant over Wood, who weighed over 450 pounds and often pledged her undying love for Graham. But that changed when Graham ordered Wood to kill a woman purely for fun, and Wood refused. Graham left Michigan to take a new job in Texas, and Wood broke down and turned herself in. The two turned on each other, and Wood confessed to get a lighter sentence. Graham received a penalty of life imprisonment, and Wood got only 20 years in prison. Number 2. Carol M. Bundy and Doug Clark. Carol M. Bundy and Doug Clark went on a horrific sex-killing spree that tagged them with the nickname the Sunset Strip Killers, named after the area of Los Angeles they terrorized in the summer of 1980. Bundy had already fled multiple abusive marriages when she fell hard for her apartment manager, a country singer named Jack Murray. While chasing Murray, she made local gigolo and king of one-night stands Doug Clark at a bar. Pretty soon they were living together and sharing their dark sexual kinks. In June, Clark murdered 2 prostitutes, then murdered 2 more a few weeks later, this time bringing the trophy back, one of their heads. Bundy put makeup on the head and they used it for sex games. Then they cleaned it and put it in a box. Meanwhile, Bundy continued to be infatuated with Jack Murray and drunkenly confessed her crimes to him. Clark wasn't a fan of this and cooked up a plan for Bundy to kill Murray by luring him into a van for sex. Bundy did just that, then shot and decapitated the guy. Finally, she broke down and confessed to her co-workers, who called the cops. Clark acted as his own lawyer and pinned all of the murders on his girlfriend, but got the death penalty anyway. Bundy died in prison in 2003, and Clark is still waiting on death row. Number 1. Delfina and Maria de Jesus Gonzalez. Sisters Delfina and Maria Gonzalez cut a swath of destruction unmatched in the history of horrible murder. Together, the Mexico City sisters are responsible for at least 91 murders and possibly as many as 110 in the 1950s and the 1960s. They were so good at it that their mass murdering had gone unnoticed until a young woman accused of an unrelated kidnapping told Mexican police about their brothel compound north of the Mexican capital. The sisters' property was searched and there were found the remains of 11 men, 90 women, and several fetuses. It came out that Maria and Delfina had a system of recruiting prostitutes under the disguise of hiring maids for a cleaning service. Then the girls were drugged, pimped, and once they lost their looks or became useless as sex workers, the sisters killed them and dumped the corpses in a pit. The pair were eventually sentenced to 40 years in prison. Delfina died in prison, but amazingly, Maria did her time, got out of prison, and vanished forever.